Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining today. I have a really special guest joining me on this interview. A lot of people probably know him. He is Mike, also known as Junk Wax Hero on YouTube and Instagram and several other places, I'm sure. Mike, first of all, welcome. Thank you so much for doing this interview. I really appreciate it.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's kind of just get started by could you just tell us how you got started in the hobby? What was it that you loved to collect first and foremost, and what are you kind of what does your collection kind of look like at this point in time?
Well, it looks like a mess, first of all, but um, I collected from 1986 to 1994-ish, and then I was in high school at that point and was more interested in girls, and got out of the hobby until 2003 when my wife was pregnant with our son, and I started having nostalgia about when I was a kid, and started buying retail packs at Target and Walmart. And I collected again for about a year then, and then he was born and I was broke. It's funny how that happens when you have kids. And so I didn't really give it a whole lot of thought until 2020, in the peak of the pandemic. I pulled my collection out from my childhood and the small amount of cards I had from 2003, 2004, and it just hit me like, oh man, this is amazing. And I started doing research, and my research was pretty mind-boggling, like numbered cards and
Mhm.
all kinds of weird stuff had happened in the hobby just in the 20 years, or I guess 16 years since I had collected. And but I was really drawn to my era, the Junk Wax era, still, because those were my favorite
Mhm.
players. That was my favorite era, and uh, just started researching a lot, going on eBay, buying cards and buying boxes of Junk Wax era cards, and loved it. Got into it, and after, I don't know, 6 or 8 months, every time I would search for something on YouTube, like I wanted to watch a video about certain sets that I didn't know anything about, they wouldn't be there. And so I thought, I'm going to start a YouTube channel and just do stuff that I would be interested in. And if other people are
Mhm.
too, that's great. I barely talk about Junk Wax cards on my channel. I so I was thinking a lot about the era at the time when I was first starting my channel, and the Foreigner song "Jukebox Hero" came on the radio, and in my head, I've
Mhm.
always changed lyrics to songs in my head, and so in my head I just changed it to Junk Wax Hero, and I thought, oh man,
Okay.
there's my channel name right there. And I often think to this day, like, I should change my channel name. And I used to talk about it on my channel back before I got to 1,000 subscribers. And my at 1,000, I was like, okay, guys, I'm going to change my channel name because I don't talk about Junk Wax cards. And all my subscribers, I must have gotten 50 comments saying, no, don't change it. So I've left it, and I still think about it a lot to this day. Like my
So if
focus is on storytelling. I tell
right.
sports cards storytelling. I also am focused on autographs. I do a lot of baseball autographs. So that's really my favorite part of the hobby is Hall of Fame, baseball autographs, and basketball, but basketball ones are so much more expensive.
Right. Yes. I absolutely. Well, that's what kind of drew me to your channel was you going over the history of a lot of these things, and talking about things like the basketball star cards, and you also talking about your stories of collecting autographs and adding to your through the mail autograph collection. So yeah, what's it been like now that you've been going headfirst into doing content creating in this hobby pretty much on a regular basis? As a matter of fact, right now you're in the middle of doing what is it, 30 straight days of producing a video for your YouTube channel?
Yeah, 26 days. So I would say my minimum amount of time spent on a video is about an hour. I'll have the occasional video like today's where takes me 30 minutes, but most of my videos are a minimum of an hour. So it's time consuming, but it's been a fantastic hobby. I'm a runner, and I've been injured all year, so I've had all this extra time to focus on my channel, and I love it. I try to keep everything as positive as possible. I talk about some negative things like sticker autographs, but I am keep everything positive, and my commenters are 95% positive too. So it's really easy.
Yeah. Well, some of my favorite things are the stories that you tell and do research on regarding um, really high dollar, high end collections that have been sold recently, or talking about individual cards and things like that. Just interesting things, like you brought up a T206 collection. I think a couple of T206 collections that were just unbelievable, and just hearing about those types of stories, I think, is what we all love about the hobby, and just thinking about amassing a collection like that, what it must have taken, the amount of time it must have taken, and everything, the resources it took, obviously. I mean, are you very much like me, where you just got to kind of love and appreciate those type of stories and why we love collecting, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I can't afford those things, but I dream about buying. I dream about buying a big collection, or that somebody invites me to their house and they're like, "Oh, hey, you're a collector, right? Here, take this box of cards," and there's like a
Right.
33 Gaudy Babe Ruth in there, stuff like that. That would never ever happen. But yeah, I will look at those auction results and think, "Oh man, this would be amazing."
Yeah, it's nice to dream, and until that day happens, it's nice to talk about it. Yeah. Um, so what makes up your collection? What do you have that you like are most proud of, or just some of the highlights of some of the things that you've collected over the years?
Well, as a basketball card nerd, you
Yes.
let's see, how do we do this? Bob Cousy, 1957 tops,
Hmm.
autographed. I got this through the mail earlier this year. You've probably seen it if you see my channel, because I talk about it way too much. Uh, and so I bought this card in a Hannaford parking lot, grocery store parking lot in my town. And the guy who was selling it was like, "Yeah, meet me in the parking lot." Bought it from him. Wasn't even 100% sure it was authentic. Seemed like it, but sent it off to Bob Cousy through the mail. Got it back in under a week, I think, with a great
Hmm.
autograph. Sent it off to PSA. They graded it a 10. And um, at the National over the summer, I saw a bunch of people selling this card in a PSA slab, just authentic,
Right.
no grades on it, and they wanted between 3,500 and 5,000. So I was like, man, I could sell this and buy a lot of cards, but the story's way too good, and I'm all about stories, and this is
Hmm.
the crown jewel of my collection. So this one, and then this Sandy Koufax 1956 tops, and it's autographed. It's tough to see it
Hmm.
there, but it is autographed, and it's in terrible condition. I paid $20 for it at a card show, my first card show back in the hobby last year, 18 months ago, and I brought it home. $20 for a 1956 tops Koufax, or $10, whatever it was. I got it home and I was showing my wife, and she was like, "Well, which of those autographs is real?" And I looked at it and I said, "Oh my God, there's an autograph on there." And I couldn't believe it. I didn't see it. I'm sure the dealer didn't see it, and sent it off to PSA and they authenticated it.
Yeah, sometimes it is really hard to tell between especially those old autographs that have been faded over time when it's that close in proximity to the sort of tops, what facility fake autograph that they
Facsimile,
put on.
yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, it is really hard to tell, but wow, that is pretty incredible.
Yeah. So those are the two best autographs I have for sure. Best cards.
Hmm.
Trying to think of what else. I mean, I'm a pretty small time collector. I
Hmm.
Today I got in the mail this Fred McGriff Diamond King
Hmm.
autograph, and I'm really, really excited about that. When I was a kid, I loved these Donruss Diamond Kings, and so when I started collecting again, I started looking at these Diamond Kings, and I would just be like, "Oh man, the art on these is amazing." And then I started seeing them autographed, and I was like, I gotta have these. So I started a collection, and I have 20 so far of Hall of Famers and superstars like Dwight Gooden, not in the Hall of Fame, but somebody I had to have his autograph of. So that's the kind of stuff I go for. It's not the I'm not going to pay a ton of money for a card. I've got a
Right.
kid in college and a 13-year-old too, but the little stuff that brings me joy.
Yeah. So is it are you particularly interested in like just trying to get as many Hall of Fame baseball players or particular types of players from an era, or in basketball as well? Like, what are kind of the things that really draw your attention, that are in your, price range and all that?
Yeah, so the guys from the my childhood era. So Pedro Martinez is
Hmm.
my all-time favorite. And Ramon Martinez was my favorite before Pedro came along.
Hmm.
So this brothers card from what is this, 92 Upper Deck, I think. Yeah. They both autographed that, and so that's right up my alley. Pedro, Ramon Martinez, and then I've got Ken Griffey Jr. rookie autograph.
Yeah.
My favorite players, Hall of Famers. Like you look at somebody like I don't know, Albert Pujols, who isn't from my childhood era. I would love to have one of his autographs, but it's not as meaningful as somebody who played when I was a kid or even before, because I really enjoy vintage cards.
Hmm. Yeah, and I guess um, like I grew up in the '90s, and I love obviously '90s NBA basketball, and that's what started fueling my love for the hobby and things like that. And and as much as I still kind of gravitate towards some of those cards, I don't know. There's still something about going even further back and going back and collecting vintage from the '60s and '70s and whatnot that still sort of tops it for me. And so, yeah, I mean, I guess just an overall lover of basketball card history, and I get the sense that you're very similar in that. And it's not just about people that you grew up collecting or people that are doing really well right now in the sport that are really popular to collect, but just having an overall love and appreciation for the history of the sport and the history of the hobby.
Yeah, for sure. And getting back to your original point there, I love basketball. I actually buy quite a bit of modern, ultra modern basketball, and I love the '90s sets. But I know the history of baseball better than I know the history of basketball. Like when I was a kid, I read everything imaginable about the history of baseball, the Hall of Fame in particular. So that's really where I focused most of my collection. But if you were to show me a Pete Maravich rookie or Dr. J rookie, those
Hmm.
those would be right up my alley too. I just sent a
Hmm.
couple of Shaquille O'Neal rookies off to him to autograph through the mail because there was a brief time where he was signing TTM autographs and they were coming
Hmm.
back authentic, and he seems to have stopped. So I'm a little concerned about what's going to happen to my Shaq rookies. But you can see here, I just bought this Hakeem Olajuwon rookie. I've got a Jordan 80. It's hard to point on this thing. Where is that Jordan? Oh, right here. 88, 88, 89.
Hmm.
So, yeah, and there's a bird up here. That's a
Yeah.
second year bird. So yeah, I mean, they're the only two sports I collect. I'm not into football. Definitely, I've never been into hockey.
Yeah, that's always been a tough one for me too. Haven't quite gotten into hockey yet. I got into football for a little while and baseball for a little while, but I just really kept just feeling like I just needed to keep my focus on what I knew the most and just kind of what I still loved and appreciated the most. So yeah, I mean, I think having a focus is still pretty good,
Yeah.
for a lot of people. So what how would you say your overall experience with through the mail stuff has gone over the years? Would you what would you say to somebody who, and I know you talk a lot about this on your channel, but people who are like thinking to themselves, you know what, maybe I should start doing through the mail stuff with athletes that are still signing at this point in time. Like, would you say anything to people who are starting out on what's the best way to go about that?
Yeah, so good question. I've been doing through the mail autographs for 1 year now. I started in December of last
Hmm.
year, and I started small. First of all, I joined a couple of Facebook groups where I read a lot about it. I'm the kind of person who doesn't just jump in. I like to
Hmm.
research a lot. And so I read a lot of information about it, and then I joined, trying to think, what's the website? It's not sportscollectors.net. It's the other one. I don't remember. But there's another website. I joined that for a little while, but it didn't have all the information I wanted, and so I
Hmm.
paid the $15 for a year for sportscollectors.net, and that gives you. It's shocking that it's only $15 a year. It should be 100. And there's just so much there. I would start small and just send off to a couple of guys that are really, really reliable TTM signers. And for anybody watching who doesn't know, TTM stands for through the mail. I've gotten a couple of comments saying, you always talk about TTM, but you never say what it is. Through the mail autographs. And so I started with Stump Merrill, who lived when I was a kid right down the street from me. And he was 100% reliable TTM signer. He was, when I was a kid, he was the manager for the Yankees. He's still signing autographs today. So I sent it off to him. It came back in the mail, and the thrill of getting that back in the mail is so great. Like, wow, somebody signed it and mailed it back to me with a note. And so that's where I would start. And I didn't really start taking any risks. I still barely take risks on TTM. But once I got the hang of it, I started being like, okay, I can send these cards off to Alan Trammell, these literally almost worthless cards, knowing that I don't really have a good address for him. And I'm not sure I'll ever get them back.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean that is a great thing about a resource like sportscollector.net. For those who may not know, like it gives you the information of who sends stuff back, like the percentage of items that people usually send back signed, and so right off the top you see who sends stuff back pretty much 100% or 95% of the time. And so those are obviously, yeah, like great starting points. They'll often have like, last known addresses, last known fees that those players will charge and things of that nature. So yeah, that tool, yeah, there's Facebook groups. There's still a blowout card forum designated for TTM. So those are definitely great resources if you are thinking about potentially doing something like that.
Yeah.
And it can be a lot of fun because sometimes you'll get back correspondence from players. Have you gotten back any interesting correspondences and things like that?
Not really. And I include a short letter with every single one
Hmm.
explaining to them what they meant to me when I was a kid or why I
Yeah.
liked them as an athlete. And I'll get like, thanks, Mike, or um, nothing. I never ask any questions. I always feel like
Hmm.
that's probably annoys them. But yeah, very short sticky notes where they'll just put, thanks, Mike, or have a good day. Nothing serious.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and yeah, I mean, and there are quite a few guys that have been doing that for many years, and they're still really good about signing and returning stuff. Bob Cousy is a great example of that.
Hmm.
Still is terrific about sending stuff back on a pretty regular basis nowadays. So yeah, it's really interesting to go down the rabbit hole to do research on who are the really good signers, who are difficult to get signed and why it's potentially even more interesting and challenging to get their autographs or find things out in the market that are signed by them. Yeah, I find that overall really adds to the fun of collecting, not just buying cards or buying graded stuff, things of that nature, but figuring out these autograph cards that are hard to find, or just figuring out how to do TTM, how to kind of get started in that, and who to send stuff off to and things of that nature.
Yeah, most of these modern guys don't do TTM because they made so much money in their careers that they don't need to take $10 for an autograph, or certainly don't need to do them for free, or don't want to, or they also have deals. exclusive deals to sign autographs for specific companies. So yeah, most of it is the older guys.
So what is there a particular, besides like your Donruss King sets and things like that that you're kind of looking at? Are there things that maybe are kind of your holy grail that you're thinking about getting one day, or are there items that if you obtained, you would feel almost like you're getting close to your end game for what you want to collect in your life?
There's no such thing as the end game. The end game is my death. um, I think so. For me, a holy grail would be early Mickey Mantle, and I'll never. I fully accept that I will never have like a 52 Topps or 51 Bowman Mantle autographed, but something in the, I don't know, 60s Mantle autograph, a 50s Ted Williams autograph, those types of things. More attainable for me would be like a Pedro Martinez rookie, which runs a couple $100 autographed.
Mm-hmm.
The one I showed is his second year with his brother. I think, let me think here. Hank Aaron, early Hank Aaron autographed. Yeah, those would be right up there.
Yeah, those would be pretty cool for sure. Yeah.
Or any of the all-time greats in basketball too. Like I would love to have a Bird, Magic, Dr. J, 1980 Topps autographed by all three. Pete Maravich rookie autographed. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, a lot of those are very high on my list too, obviously.
Jordan.
Jordan would be nice, yeah. I've got a few that I'm proud of. And I don't know if I would ever be able to obtain, a 61 Fleer Wilt, but that's definitely like probably number one on my bucket list.
Yeah. What's your best card?
Oh gosh. I've got a couple of really cool 61 Fleers that I'm proud of. I actually have a few within reach.
When I say best, I really mean favorite. Ooh, look at that autograph.
Yeah.
Whoo. That is amazing. That is a dream right there.
Yeah. It's definitely one of my favorites. And then I have the Oscar as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's spectacular.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. So I've got like 20 of the 61 Fleer signed currently. I'm going to see how many I can potentially get in that set, which is not easy and certainly not pocket change.
Okay.
And then I have a Dr. J rookie autograph that is definitely one of my favorites. I just love that 72 the Topps card look and just having the Dr. J autograph. Yeah, it's definitely one of my favorites. Yeah.
Yeah. One of my childhood friends is doing a documentary right now on the 1975 Warriors. He does documentaries, and he's working on a documentary with Rick Barry, the 1975 Warriors championship team. And as part of this, he somehow got to meet Wilt and did I'm trying to remember now. He sent me a picture. He sent me a picture of himself with Wilt Chamberlain. Hang on. No, I'm sorry. I said Wilt. I'm talking about Dr. J.
I was about to say, did he go back in time?
No, yeah, I know.
Did he do
as soon as
the 90s?
I'm picturing Dr. J but saying Wilt. And so he sent me a picture of himself with Dr. J, one with Rick Barry, one with Jamal Wilkes. He's got a bunch of them. So I'm hoping that he'll get me some autographs from some of these guys.
Well, that's pretty cool. I mean, yeah, that's fantastic that he gets to do a documentary project like that. I'll definitely have to, when he completes that, definitely have to see if I can find that. Yeah.
Yeah, he interviewed Steve Kerr a couple weeks ago about just a brief what does the history of the Warriors mean to the modern team.
I'm sure did he get to talk to Al Attles or anybody like that?
I didn't hear that name.
Okay. because he's another one that's in my 61 Fleer set.
Mm,
Definitely a Hall of Famer, of course, and was the head coach for that Warriors team that won that championship that year. One of the Bill Russell was the first African American uh, person to win a championship as a head coach, but Al Attles was like second on that list because he won as a head coach for the Golden State Warriors. So that's just one of the things I love about the 61 Fleer set is like so many people in that set that have such a big impact just in the overall trajectory of basketball history and
yeah.
the how popular the NBA has become nowadays. So even guys like Al Attles and other guys that may not be as well known as some of the other big names from that set, they had such a huge hand in NBA history. So it's why I really gravitate towards collecting those type of things.
Yep. Absolutely. Those are some big time cards. I don't have any 61 Fleer. The closest I have is one of those, I think it's 1998 Michael Jordan cards that's based on the 61 Fleer design. Those are cool. Yeah.
hmm
The 61 Fleer is a great set.
It's a timeless look. Yeah. The reason why they've had so many insert sets and other things that have come out recently that have the same exact design and everything. Yeah.
Yeah. I would actually love to get, I think it's 1951 Burke Ross Bob Cousy card and then send that off to him to get autographed. That's a dream.
Yeah, this Holy Cross uniform, everything. Yeah.
Yeah. The card is just so expensive.
Yeah. And it's funny, like the Bill Sharman version of that, the Burke Ross set is very expensive to get signed, especially. So it was one of those kind of forgotten sets for a long time. But once again, I feel like with the amount of information we have out there now, more and more people that know about it, but not enough people knew about it back in the day to send off to get signed by Bill Sharman. So that's one of those, once again, kind of rabbit holes you can go down and find some really interesting things that, back in the day, never many people knew about, never many people thought about, hey, I should get this sent off to be signed by so and so or whatever. And so you find these things that have this like actual rarity. This really, really difficult to find. And these aren't like, these aren't, things that are numbered to 50 or anything like that. Like, it's you don't even really know for certain how few or how many there are out there. Um, but yeah, there's like an actual rarity to it as opposed to a manufactured rarity. And it also just has a much more interesting history to it, in my opinion, than just a parallel that's printed to 50 or less or whatever,
Yeah, I know. I feel like I've got a rant coming on about the manufactured scarcity and the sticker autographs and these fake patches today. And don't get me wrong, I collect ultra modern baseball and basketball. I enjoy it, but it's just deeply, deeply flawed. And hopefully it goes in the right direction with Fanatics and not continuing down the same path it has been the last 5+ years.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot we can probably get into with all that stuff. I myself have a lot of feelings towards it, but maybe another time or something. Or if anyone wants to listen to your rants, because I'm sure you're doing plenty of those for your 30 straight days of trying to do video content. Just go to your YouTube channel. Because I remember I listened to a few of those, especially about sticker autos, which I get the frustration for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that they're just ugly. Like they've got Panini or Topps all over them, and I just want the autograph right on the card.
Yep, and I really don't think there's literally anyone in the hobby that likes them. So,
actually, I get people defending them in my comments all the time that they prefer the sticker autographs.
Oh, okay. So there's a few. Okay,
I don't get it, but that's okay. To each their own.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, really, those were all the questions I had for you today. Was there anything else that you wanted to kind of make sure to mention, or anything else that you want to tell us about that you're currently kind of going after, or things that you're looking towards in the future and whatnot?
Same stuff. I mean, I'm hooked on Hall of Fame autographs, Diamond Kings, really rookie autographs. Like you can see Gaylord Perry, who just passed away. That's his rookie autograph right there. Wade Boggs there, Bill Mazeroski. Rookie autographs. That's my thing. And Carly Yastrzemski. I've got a Topps run of all of his cards, plus I have a bunch of his autographs. I'm a Boston guy.
Yeah. Think a lot of people can guess. No. Very cool. So what about once you're kind of done with your trying to do your 30 days of content, you got any big plans for your channel or things you're going to be possibly attending live in the near future?
56 days is my goal because of Joe DiMaggio's hitting streak. I've decided I'm going to try to get to 56. And after that, I'm going to take a little break. Go to as many shows as I can go to, card shops. I enjoy it. I probably won't go to the National in 2023 because it's too far away.
Okay. Well, you got plenty of options out there. It feels like so. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're gonna try and go to like Chantilly or any of those other big ones next year potentially.
Too far. I live in Maine.
Yeah.
So it's, we have some good shows. There's some in Portland every month. There's one in Augusta 3 or 4 times a year, Augusta, Maine. But other than that, I don't. Maybe I'll drive to like a Boston show. I think there's one at like the Shriners show in Boston every year, a couple times a year maybe. But yeah, that's it.
Well, cool. Well, once again, thank you so much for taking the time to do this interview. I really appreciate it because I know you've been extremely busy lately. Once again, it's Mike, also known as Junk Wax Hero. Check out his YouTube channel. Check out his Instagram. Anywhere else that we can definitely find you on a pretty regular basis?
That's it.
Okay.
I don't have a ton of social media. Don't have time for it. I'm too old.
Understandable. All right. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, thanks, Curtis. It was great talking to you. Thanks for having me on.